My given name is Dickie. I come from Billericky, and I'm doing very well.
So, good evening everyone. So, you've probably guessed by that music that our beer for the night is BillericayDickie. So, one of our most popular beers, you can see number 3, let's see, the third beer we actually made of our own. So, let's get on with it. Let's open up the bottle. BillericayDickie. Okay, so naming the beer, obviously when I started a brewery up in Billericay, we had to call the beer BillericayDickie. Loved Ian Dury back in the 70s and all the way through, so loved his music, and that BillericayDickie song is a fantastic song, and we had to name a beer after it. So here we go, BillericayDickie. There we go, should have shown that a bit better. So there you are, poured in the glass, lovely head on it. It's quite fresh brew, but it's still got a lovely condition in there. Okay, so let's just taste that. Lovely. Okay, so it's BillericayDickie. It's 4.2% amber ale. We like to say it's a lovely balanced amber ale. It's got the real nice, lovely balance between the sweetness, there's bitterness in there, there's hops, there's malts, there's everything. We sort of say it's got everything you want in a beer. It's got refreshment and it's got flavour. I always find the end of a workday beer, BillericayDickie, I think, really hits the point, hits the spot. It's a nice quaffing beer, 4.2%, but it's really got the flavour and the satisfaction there as well. So it's great here. So let's have another drink of that. BillericayDickie. And just a quick mention of the glass. So the glass this time, Summer Pub. So if you look on there, it says Great British Beer Festival London 2019. So that was last year's Great British Beer Festival, the top beer festival in Britain, held at Olympia every year, organised by CAMRA, Campaign for Real Ale. And last year, of course, for the first time, we'd actually appeared at that festival. It wasn't BillericayDickie, but we had, I think we remember going back, we had Billericay Blonde, Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, and Chapel Street Porter there. It was a real great honour to have our beer there. Sadly, with all things going wrong, it's been cancelled this year, but hopefully be back again next year. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the name of BillericayDickie and the Ian Dury influence. Really, we found that we had loads of names coming out of Ian Dury songs. I'm sure there's still some that we haven't used. So I mean, everyone knows our Rhythm Stick. Everyone knows our Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. We've of course got Clever Trevor. I had to do that one, didn't I? We'll have My Old Man very soon ready for Father's Day. We had Raisins to be cheerful. We had Mash It Up Harry. So we've got lots of them, and I'm sure I might have left one out. I don't know, I can't remember, but I'm sure there's more that we can do. So if you've got an idea for a beer using the Ian Dury song, then please let us know. Rose, who works in our shop, always comes up with some fantastic names and beers. So well done, Rose, for all those great names that you come up for beer. So brewing BillericayDickie, so it's the third beer we ever made. It was really our best bitter, really I want to make. We'd started off with, say, Mayflower Gold, something really adventurous, but this is sort of like a bread and butter beer, BillericayDickie. It's the best bitter. We sell lots of it. We sell it all year round, summer and winter. It's sort of our one of our best sellers, really, because the fact it sells all year round. Now, looking at what it's made from, first week we did this, we talked about the hops and the hops that are used in there. It's a bit of a mixture of British and American hops. So it has got the hops that go in to give the bitterness to it is Challenger, which is British hop, and then the aroma hops, we use a mix of Whitbread Goldings and Cascade. So Whitbread Goldings, British hop, and Cascade and American hop. So again, a nice balance there, a nice mix. Now the other thing to talk about, of course, is the malt in there, and we've got a mixture of malts in there. As I said last week when we were talking about malt, pale malt is the backbone of virtually all our beers. Sort of 80% of all our beers is the malt, is the pale malt. But this one you can see it's not purely pale, it's sort of more an amber flavour. If you hold it up to the light, there's almost a reddish sort of tinge to it. Now this is actually an example that sort of, this is our batch that we've brewed at Billericay. So this is one of Rick's brews. And because we are our large volume beers, we have been in the past year been brewing at Brentwood because we can't keep up with demand, our small kit. So it's nice to go back, but to brew this one ourselves at Billericay, and it's noticeable there, that really nice red tinge to it that we expect from BillericayDickie. Okay, so so that red tinge comes from the crystal malt that's in there. So it's a crystal malt. Last week I talked about the chocolate malt that goes into Woody's Bark. Crystal malt is roasted not quite as high temperature as the chocolate malt, and you get sort of sugar start to crystallise out. It's a little bit of a process similar to making toffee. So you do get toffee and caramel flavours in there. And the other malt in there is called caramalt, which has been lightly roasted to give some caramel flavours. And we've also got one called melanoidin, which is a specialty malt that we get from Germany, and that gives a nice biscuity flavour to the beer. But we only got only a little bit of each of those. Still, I said the backbone of it is pale malt. Okay, so as I said, nice balanced beer. We've talked about the hops that go in the beer. We've talked about the malt that goes into the beer. Now there's two other ingredients that I spoke about, and this one we're going to talk about the main ingredient of beer, the one that everyone tends to forget. 96% of this beer, of course, is water. Now, people sort of think sometimes think the water doesn't have a great effect on the beer, but it has a massive effect on the style of the beer. Now, us brewers, we don't actually call the water that goes into beer water, we call it liquor, because the liquor is the quality of water that goes in to brew with. In breweries, you sometimes use other water that might just be used for cleaning, but the liquor is the liquid that actually goes into the beer. And it's also the thing that, because it's a liquor, we say liquor because water's not all the same, funny enough. It's a strange thing to say that water's not all the same, but it comes down to my background. Some of you will know I'm a chemist, so it comes down to the chemistry of the water. So water comes in different types. You get hard water and soft water, the two main types. But within hard water, there's lots of different minerals that go into making it hard water. And it depends where you are in the country, what they are. Now, different beer styles tend to grow up depending on what type of water there is in that area. Now, if you look at beer styles such as lagers, Pilsner lagers in Germany and Czech Republic, where they originated, the water where they're brewed is very soft water, hardly any minerals in at all. So that suits that style of beer. Now, if we go to the extreme of Woody's Bark, a stout like that, a dark beer. Now, the stouts and the porters originated in London. Now, the water in London is very hard water. The water goes through chalk in the soil, it picks up lots of carbonates, makes it very hard water. So those of you who live in London and you look inside your kettles, you've got loads of scale in there. That's coming from the hard water, the carbonate in there. And so if you want to brew dark beers, suit that type of water. Now, in the past, breweries just used to brew a style of beer depending on what their local water was like. And nowadays, breweries are expected to brew a whole range of styles. So we have to play around a bit with water chemistry before we brew. Now, in Billericay, we use Essex water out the tap. We haven't got a well or a borehole. That very often gives you lots more headaches than it's worth actually having those things, because you have to test the water all the time. We know that what comes out the tap in Billericay is fine for drinking. It's the good quality for drinking. So we use tap water, and the water in Billericay is actually quite similar to London water. It's very hard water, got lots of carbonate in there. So if we want to brew something like our Woody's Bark, we looked at last week, we can use the water straight out the tap. Now, if you want to brew a beer like this, an amber beer, now these type of beers, they originated, one of the places they originated was Burton-upon-Trent, the famous brewing town. Now, the water in Burton-upon-Trent, it's hard water, but rather than carbonate in there, it's got sulphate in there. Now, if we want to brew a amber beer, and it's also the same with pale ales as well, we have to do a thing called Burtonising the water. So you have to match the chemistry of water in Burton-upon-Trent. So what we do the night before we brew, we add a very, very small amount of a dilute acid into the water at the tap. So that makes it into liquor. So that very small amount of water, it reduces what's called the alkalinity of the water, breaks down the carbonate, releases carbon dioxide. And then when we brew, we actually add some of the sulfates, some of the chlorides as well that exist in Burton water. Now we have to make sure we're adding exact amounts so we can make the water match Burton-upon-Trent and make this style of beer. So obviously there's a lot involved in that chemistry, and we're going to go into a chemistry lesson here, but that's what's involved in there to make the right liquor for us brewing the beer. Okay, so another great drink on there. Just a little bit down the wrong way, sorry about that. Okay, so BillericayDickie, we've got plenty of that in stock. You can order that in bottles, you can order that in polypins. So remember our bag in boxes, 5, 9 and 18 pints. Okay, so if you want some of those in for the weekend, if you want the polypins, I'd get your orders in tomorrow at the latest so we can get them ready for the weekend. Okay, so we've spoken a little bit about Rick, who's our great brewer, so talk about his great brewing skills. If you're ordering beer off us, then for delivery to your home, then you might have spoken to Alex and Seb, who's our great team in the sales department. So you might have spoken to those them about ordering beer, and also you might see them delivering the beer. One of the four of us has been delivering the beer out to you regularly. So a big thank you to not just Rick for brewing, but Alex and Seb for all their hard work as well in getting the beer out to you. And we also need to say thank you to all our customers out here. Thank you for watching tonight. It's great to see that we've got people watching tonight and watching afterwards because obviously this video stays on Facebook and we also put it on YouTube. So a big thank you for everyone for watching, but also a massive thank you for everyone who has been buying our beer. We've really been overwhelmed by how supportive all our loyal customers have been in these very changing times, these very different times. We didn't know how things would work. We didn't know how things would operate. We're really happy with how they are. So a real big thank you for the loyalty you're showing. And when we come and deliver the beer to you, we see such great smiling faces. So it's really great to see that and keeping you supplied with beer in these difficult times. We're keeping going here, which is great that we see a way now of surviving beyond this, which is great, which a lot of companies are really struggling with that, but your support is making sure we are. We're also looking at ways that we can increase the thanks out to you and the community. So looking at a couple of things next week. We're looking at how we can use our loyalty scheme for deliveries as well. So we're looking for an announcement for that next week. And also we're looking to some feedback from you, people you think actually deserve a beer. So there's lots of people, lots of really key workers out there who really do deserve a beer. So if there's anyone you think really deserves a beer, or several beers for that matter, then think about it. We'll give you the details next week, and we're going to look away at rewarding the people who are heroes, who we think deserve a beer in these challenging times. There's plenty of them out there. And we want to get some beer out to them people who deserve. So that's something to look forward to for next week. So someone just asked 5 and 9 pint polypins. Yes, that's right. Normally we just do 35 and 18 pint polypins, and they tend to be mainly for when people are having parties and gatherings. Obviously you can't at the moment do that. So a 35 pint polypin for someone to get for themselves, that's quite a lot because they only tend to last a week. We've sold quite a few 18 pint ones, but 9 and 5 pints polypins have been really popular because they're just right for one person for a week's drinking. So if you do want to order 5 or 9 pint polypin, phone us tomorrow 01277 500 121, or drop us an email to sales@BillericayBrewing.co.uk. and say for the poly pins, best to get your order in as early as you can, so because we do make them ready fresh for you. So all that's left to do is say cheers, stay safe, stay at home and drink the beer. Okay, a massive thank you to all of you, and I will see you again next week when it'll be a different beer. We've got lots going on next week with the bank holiday weekend as well. We'll have a Facebook Live. We've got a virtual quiz on the Thursday night as well. So virtual quiz on the Thursday night. So if you watch out for details of that, and hopefully lots of beer. So cheers.